The sense of a separate self, the sense of the struggling one, the sense of isolation, the sense of scarcity and lack that fuels the endless seeking, internal seeking and external seeking, is all based on a simple misperception. The fundamental distortion or delusion or illusion is that we actually believe, truly believe in a distinct, separate self that we have to defend, that is clearly apart from other selves, other experiences, other times and places, and that sense of separation is constantly operating. It turns out we never actually made a choice to believe in it. We don't carry it around like an object that we can look at and confirm that it's actually real. We actually keep that sense of separation, that sense of the separate self alive by avoiding looking directly there. This is very paradoxical. The truth of this is hidden in plain sight. But because the separate self, the suffering self, the isolated self is constantly assumed into apparent being, it's buried in the processing of thought, in the processing of our minds. We never really look closely at it. We're already 2 or 3 steps down the road trying to solve the problem of it suffering without really looking directly at the source and the root to find out who or what it is that's actually suffering. So the very belief that we actually hold a solid view that we exist as some separate entity apart from everything else is an error. When we look closely, we'll realize we don't actually believe that. It's just that belief is assumed by the endless cascade of thoughts in our mind. What I need to do to solve this, what I need to do to solve that, whether I'm worthy, whether I'm not worthy. All of these things we contemplate are always making assumptions. This is genius. The ego is genius. It's smarter than we are. It's older than we are. It's ancient. It's a sort of entity that will outlive you. It will outlive this body-mind. It lives in human consciousness. It lives in the shared delusion of separation, of you and me, of seeking, finding, suffering. And it lives due to hiding, due to our inability or unwillingness to turn and look at the shadow. It's there all the time. The beginning of the song Sober by Tool illustrates this beautifully. The first few lines are, "There's a shadow just behind me, shrouding every step I take, making every promise empty, pointing every finger at me, waiting like a stalking butler." This is the shadow. The shadow is where you look to see if you really exist. The shadow is where you look to see who it is that's suffering, who it is that's trying to end suffering, who it is that feels the emotions, who it is that's repressing the emotions. Who is it that wants? Instead of worrying about what we want and then trying to struggle to not want or to attenuate our tendency to indulge in habits, why don't we look for the addict? Where's the addicted one? As Paul Hederman says, the worst addiction of all is the addiction to self. And that's coming from someone who knows a lot about drug addiction, as he is in the recovery community. And he himself was an addict, and he'll say that the addiction to self is far beyond the addiction to a drug or alcohol. But addiction is about hide and seek. We play hide and seek with ourself. We play hide and seek with our shadow. So we have to go into that shadow at some point. We have to engage it. We have to turn around. There are many ways to do this, including the way of no way, which is surrender, which is life surrenders you. Life pulls the rug out from you hard enough till there's nowhere else to look but directly into that shadow. The moment you see that there's nothing actually there, no self, no one for whom this story is being told, no one who seeks, no one who avoids, no one to make distance, no one who has to manage life. This is a scary place to look because it takes away all of your coping mechanisms, takes away all your escape routes, cuts the sense of agency off at its knees. And yet there's something quite sublime about this. The cost of admission for this kind of truth, this kind of living truth, is everything. You have to be willing to let go of all of your beliefs, because all of your beliefs are rooted in that fundamental belief that I exist separately from everything, that I have to maintain what I think I am. When you see that happening, when you feel that happening, go right to its center. Crawl if you have to, but find your way into that place of discomfort. It's uncomfortable because it renders all of those personas inert. They're useless here. You don't get through the door with a persona. You have to let it go because you can't fool reality. You can fool your friends. You can fool your family. You can even fool yourself. But you can't fool reality. And that's a very good thing. This is unconditional love, which can be a scalpel or a sword. But it can also be an oceanic bath of primordial intimacy. So invite the shadow to come forward. Find out what's there. As Nietzsche said, be careful when trying to cast out demons that you don't destroy the best thing that's in you. Nothing needs to be cast out. It's just a matter of finally turning to look at and fully embrace what you've been avoiding. Then you see that you, as you take yourself to be, as you've taken yourself to be, we're actually being cast by the shadow.